Yeah, trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, there's no misses. Something like fish in a barrel, it's no dip.
Boom! It's playoff time, baby. It's playoff time.
Trophy season.
Trophy season. Happy trophy season, everyone. Episode 117. I miss when we used to do the jersey numbers, but DeVito has not shown up since we went to 100. So, numero uno, Pete, did you have a Christmas sweater party tonight?
No, I did not. I was not able to go to my company's Christmas party, but I figured I'd throw up my sweater for all the hoes out there.
I can appreciate that.
There you go.
Well, as I always say, bros before hoes, and my number 2 bro these days. Case, is your wife still around? Should we say something nice about her?
No, she went upstairs.
All right, great to hear.
She's not going to listen to it. She said whatever you want.
She doesn't listen to it at all. She does not care.
She hears it in real time, and she hears probably my voice enough. So she's probably good on that.
I fast forward through your parts.
That's fine. It's probably a good idea.
What is our
That's
viewership?
why you're in last place, bro.
Pete, what is our viewership these days?
I was telling Brian this earlier, so he can vouch for me not lying, but it is the highest it's ever been. We have about 14 views on YouTube, and we have about 20 to 30 views on our podcast. So we've always had about 20 to 30 views on our podcast, but now we add in the YouTube, we're getting extra viewers. And our female percentage has grown from 4 to 7% over the last year. So we are getting more female viewers than ever. You know?
I think that's 1 to 2, right?
Yeah. Hey, whatever.
It's a great introductory podcast for those women out there trying to get into fantasy football for the first time.
Yeah.
This is
a
gateway podcast. It's a gateway podcast.
If they want to know about Milford and fantasy football, they'd be like, oh, I've come to the right place.
If you listen to our podcast, I don't even know what fantasy football players you would think were relevant. Like, we don't even talk about players.
It's not even that. I'm like, custom rosters, custom point system. So anything we tell you ain't going to help your Yahoo standard leagues.
I can't imagine anybody that this podcast appeals to.
Hey, I got a redraft this year. Who do you like? I don't know, man. There's 100 guys off the table when I draft.
Yeah. Our scoring system is ridiculous, so forget it. Yeah. We have nothing.
Man. I still can't believe Case made the playoffs.
Neither can I, Mike. Neither can I. No one even talked about it as an issue until you brought it up on the text chain.
When did I text? Sunday morning? And I think 2 things happened. One, no one even talked about you. We didn't know you mathematically can make it. And then when Cooper Kupp put up a 0, I was like, well, Case is done. And then you broke the record again 2 weeks in a row. The guy breaking the record with a Thursday night 0 up to 225. Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I wish that I was more engaged this year because this has some this year has had some crazy stuff happen towards the end of it.
For example?
Casey just raised his hand and looked at me, so I figured I'd stop.
Yeah, I
talking.
didn't have the exact number for you, Pete. Sorry, off the cuff. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8 teams. A 5-way record tie for 4th place.
You know what this is a perfect time for?
A recap?
An intern. I wish we had an intern to tell us how historic this was.
We need Steve.
Mike was going to. So I thought about saying, hey, Mike, you do some research in your spare time. When's the last time a sub 500 team made our playoffs? But then I also didn't want to jinx myself or bring it up because it was about me.
Oh, I wouldn't have done the research.
Why isn't anyone watching us? I want at least one viewer.
Text Andy.
Oh, no, he's not around. Oh, nice. Good double plug there, Pete.
Yeah.
What, right. So do you want to get into the recap? Do you want to get into the recap?
Let's do like the full week.
When can I ask Case when he felt like he had a chance?
In a second. Let's start with the boom of the week. It was 226 by Casey. Casey, this boom ranks 7th all time on the list. Good for you. It is the 3rd 200-point score of the year. Now, I know that we've had a little conversation about the lack of 200-point scorers. Do you want to give any guess to 200-point scores in the past? Because when I looked at it, it was a little shocking. How many do you think there were last year?
4.
We had a bunch last
There
year.
are 3 this year, for context. 3 this year. How many last year?
5
We had
last year.
8 last year.
There were 2 last year.
Wow, I'm off by a lot.
Wait a
about the
second. Did you count playoffs?
And now, how
2.
about the year before that? Because we don't award booms for playoffs. How about the year
8,
before that?
4.
8.
2. The year before that.
When did I put up that 272 mark or whatever it was?
Last year, you were one of the 2 that boomed.
I could have sworn there's like a bunch was over 200 last year.
And in 2021, guess how many booms there were?
17.
8.
5. That was not how many booms, how many 200-point scorers. There were 5 200-point scorers in 2021. That was the most we've had so far.
Wow.
So only having 3 this year, actually pretty good. Not bad.
Is it bad that I thought that the amount we scored in 2021 felt like last year? To me.
Who has the most 200-point score? Wait, who has the most 200-point weeks? Case?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I have to look that up.
Sorry, that felt like a fair follow-up question. What's in the glass? Apple juice?
So I have whiskey, but I don't have Coke.
Whiskey Wednesdays.
I have to do it with my daughter's Sprite, which I heard it like Sprite and whiskey. It's actually not bad.
Not bad. It's closer like a ginger ale.
I can see that.
Really can't taste anything anyway, so screw it. All right, Beast of the Week goes to any guesses?
Devontae Adams.
Your boy Devontae Adams, 54 points. It was the 3rd highest of the season, and the going deep is also Devontae Adams with a 71-yard reception. That guy Coker on Carolina, he had an 83-yard reception, but no one started.
I saw that. That was a cool play.
Hey, I want to call it a special stat here because CJ Spates won the Brian Casey Award for the people at home. That is the #1 seed. That is not a knock on Brian Casey, by the way. I want to make that 100% clear. The kid won the award with a 14-0 record. It was shattering the previous mark. So regular season champion, although funny.
Sure feels like a knock.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to be. Anyway. When you could go 14-0 in a regular season, you could start making jokes on that one. But CJ Spates won the Brian Casey regular season award for the first time ever. I thought it was pretty interesting. DeVito last year, he was the #1 seed, first time ever. DeVita 2022 #1 seed, first time ever.
Whoa.
So 3 straight years with brand new #1 seeds for the first time ever.
Really good stat, Pete.
Good stat, Pete.
If you want to know who has the most #1 seeds of all time, any guess?
Christian Adarian.
Breen?
Christian Adarian has it with 6. Breen has 5.
Yeah,
Did he make the playoffs this year?
He won it 6 years in a row from 1999 to 2006.
Has anybody heard from Christian? I haven't got a text lately.
I think he's moved on.
He texted me. He texted me first on who to pick, but he didn't finish his pick. I don't know who he thinks is winning the Super Bowl.
If you want to talk week in review, I assume this would be the time to talk about Brian Casey's epic comeback because I don't want to go game by game, quite frankly. If I didn't fill out the banners,
Well, in fairness, Pete, there were several games that played into
Huge.
this, and it was actually incredible.
I FaceTime with Christian Monday night.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Oh,
I had
wow.
to.
What was it?
You know me. You guys, no shame in my FaceTime game. And I was watching it, and it was everybody locked in as much as I was? I was fully locked in on Monday night.
No.
I didn't make it past halftime.
So I did. And the moment I knew Christian was going to lose, I still was not sure about Breen. You actually got lucky because Caleb Williams missed a wide open Roma Dunze in the end zone. But the moment I knew Darian was in trouble, Vikings were whooping the Bears. But the Bears got the ball to the goal line, and they scored. And I'm like, oh, Vikings have to come back. Addison's going to make a pass. And the Bears, 3 straight plays, illegal substitution, holding, illegal motion, field goal. And I was like, game's over because they're not going to have to throw now. Game was over. And that's when I called Darian.
You know what we call that, Mike? Karma.
It was karma.
Yeah.
It was karma.
He deserves it.
Can we hear Case's reflections now?
4:25. Devontae went off at the 1 o'clock slot, and then Evans and St. Brown came out of nowhere, like within plays of each other, and scored big. And at that point, then it didn't become about me. It became about Kaleli versus Breen and DeVito versus Christian. Like my matchup was, I had the win, and there was enough points there where they weren't scoring a lot. So then I was watching their games more than I was watching mine. I still didn't think I had it. I went to bed at halftime Monday night. Addison had a big first half, got off to a quick start, and then Bijan closed that first half.
Yeah.
It said, Christian's getting in. There's no chance I got this. I just went to bed. I didn't see until I woke up.
They did not go to him all that. They still go to Algier way more than I realized because I don't watch the Falcons ever. Algier still had like 10 touches. Bijan does not get the run that I expected him to get.
They on the broadcast, Mike, they actually talked about it in the first half, a little bit like a thunder and lightning thing, almost like Brandon Jacobs and Tiki Barber type thing. Like they complement each other so well. Like Algier, big, Bijan, scat back type. But he does touch a lot.
Well, it was something. I do think, Pete, we have to recap the games because there were some wild things that happened to said. What do you want to do? You don't even want to talk about the recap of the games?
I woke up Tuesday morning super jacked up.
I mean, I'm sorry. The kid went to bed at halftime. I mean, we're going to recap these games. Who cares?
In fairness, Pete, that's basically every week. That does nothing to do with this being
I was going to say,
I usually don't make it through the whole Monday night game anyway.
He has sleeping issues. We don't need to go through it. I'll give you the high level recap. Innis
I don't have the things lined up. Sorry.
Innis choked. Lloyd destroyed Innis. Case had a 0 burger on Thursday night, blew up. And to me, it was halftime of the Sunday night game where I didn't really even make the connection. I'm like, Case could win this thing. Breen should have beat me and he lost because I think his team stinks. He didn't deserve to make the playoffs. And DeVito, to me, we haven't talked about him. We haven't mentioned his name. He's the unsung hero of the weekend. He put up a monster against the Darien.
Yeah, he did. Monster against the
Breen put up a 0 spot, Mike. If Waddle doesn't get hurt, he's the 4 seed. Because in fairness, Mike, you could say that you might have choked this one away from me and all things because how well your bench played versus your starting lineup.
Bench was great. I had a great bench performance.
I would have been really upset with you today if I just missed it because of your bench.
You wouldn't have been that upset with me.
I'd be ignoring you right now and bashing you. Yeah.
Because your team would have gone 7-8 and missed the playoffs, it would have been somebody else's fault. That's just
Mike, I was on the outskirts looking in. I had to win my matchup. The other teams had to lose, and I had to score enough points to overcome a point deficit for everybody.
Yeah, how do you feel? Does this rank on like a top 10 moment of your life?
Me?
You put up the season high score when you needed it the most to defend your only title of somebody who has never it's been a punchline for not winning titles.
In fairness, if I didn't have a second kid, probably, but it probably knocks the 11 or 12 spot, to be honest.
This is maybe around third kid status. Okay.
Yeah, just outside the top 10.
Gotcha. All right. You ready to talk about these games or what?
Well, what are we doing? What do you have prepared?
We're going to do the playoff preview. We're going to talk about the teams that matter, bro.
All right. When do you want? I have the league picks. You want them at the end?
No, you want to do those now? Or I was going to do a final predictions. Look, I'll show the scale. Look at that.
Good. Let's do it.
All right.
Do you want me to text you everyone's results? Do you want to fill them in as we go? I got everybody's except for Christian's.
I want my reactions in real time, Mike. You give it to us.
All right.
Okay. I say we start with a preview of the playoff teams.
Let's do it, Pete. Preview game number 1. Our 1 seed, the Brian Casey Award, taking on the real Brian Casey. 1 versus 4, the king of the year versus the guy who snuck in the last game of the season. Let's get it, Pete.
CJ Spates, the number 1 seed. First time in franchise history for your boy. It is his 11th all-time playoff appearance. In the first round, he is 4-6 all time. So not that great. Your boy went 11-4 this year. He was first in scoring in points per games with 154. He has had 4 booms. They were on week 3, 4, 8, and 13. Shout out to the booms. I want to say right now before we go any further, the 4 playoff teams represented 10 of the booms.
That makes sense.
Okay. Shout out to the other 5 guys that won individual booms. Those are DeVito, Breen, me, Andy, and Jeff, leaving Christian Dadarian as the only guy that did not boom on the entire season. So
That's perfect.
No $50 bonus for you, bud.
That's perfect.
So-
That's perfect.
Poor Christian. Brian Casey, number 4 seed. He's been the number 4 seed 4 times. This is also his 11th playoff appearance, just like CJ Spates.
Whoa.
While CJ went 4-6 in the first round, Brian Casey has gone 2-8 in the first round.
Almost in the Mike Colelli territory.
Not even close. Not even close.
Your boy Brian Casey finished this year 7-8. He was 4th in scoring thanks to a big performance in that last week, but you scored about 141 points per game. One boom, but it was the highest score of the year, and it was week 15.
The only boom that mattered.
I'll tell you what. I talked to CJ earlier today, and CJ picked Casey.
CJ picked Casey. I confirm.
So it's hard to go against that. I think I'm going to pick Brian Casey in the upset.
Case, congratulations.
Thanks, buddy.
Welcome to the playoffs. You're doing something that's quite interesting. Pete, I know, doesn't ever look at like the rosters and analyze it. I'm pretty sure you picked up Baker Mayfield and you now have him starting in your roster. Just break down.
Ballsy move.
Ballsy move. Break down what you've got going on this week. And then I don't necessarily want you to go like person by person, but who are you most scared of on Team Spates?
So I just played Spates in week 15, so I boomed on him.
Knocked him around.
And I don't think I can expect the exact same thing against, like when you just said 100, he's averaging 154. I was actually just looking up quick how many times I went over on that. My last week's boom catapulted up that average. It must have been Pete a ton because I don't think I've been over 140 much this year. So this is very much a underdog matchup for me. So,
but you're hot.
My quarterback play all year has been really inconsistent and hard to rely on. Looking at this week's matchup, looking at the free agent wire, Baker's going against Dallas. It's a later game, Mike, so it sort of extends the matchup for me into Sunday night with Baker. It gives me a stack, which is valuable for me to get some double points. And Baker right now is the 7th ranked player in fantasy. Like he should be starting for a team in our league, essentially.
Great.
So, he's far outplaying my current quarterback. So,
how do you feel about me dropping him? I'm willing to address the controversy head on. How do you feel about me dropping him? Do you think that this affects this game or no?
I thank you for dropping him, and Pete, I thank you for dropping Jerry Jeudy a couple weeks ago because I picked him up, and he's been one of my better players the last 3 weeks here. So
I figured so many of my stars are headed to the Super Bowl. I figured that if I was going to drop Baker Mayfield, I'm in no position to keep him, and I wanted to, and whatever, he wasn't going to be a part of the long-term plan. I dropped him. I feel that there was fair advantage for everyone to get him, including CJ. And when you see Brian Casey make the claim, I was like, yeah, good for him. The process has gone through. So
did someone give you a hard time about dropping him?
No, I was just making sure that no one does because I'm ready to fight.
He's been on the free agent wire for at least a couple weeks. Number one. Number two, I had $0 fab dollars left, so anybody could block me if they wanted to.
Yeah, he's a fringe player. I didn't think it was that big of a game changer. What was the one that
25 and Jerome Ford?
What was the one that Dominic Rhodes, right? Dominic Rhodes was the one that cost CJ a championship of the past.
Moved by a former owner, he who shall not be named.
Totally different. Because he dropped him and didn't pick up a player. You're essentially saying I'd rather long term have the guy of Dak than I would. So I think it's fair game. So Case, who'd you pick?
Who am I taking? I'm taking CJ.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So I'm with you on the CJ pick. I think it's been CJ's to lose for a while, and there was no mention to me of the most consequential long-term injury that came up this past week. I think CJ may arguably have the best player in fantasy football in the last 2 weeks, with Jahmyr Gibbs being the only guy in the Lions backfield. So
my biggest worry is him and Jacobs because those guys.
Yeah, and then he's got. I was actually Case. I was surprised you went Baker because I thought you want the other side of the Josh Jacobs play. If for some reason they had more passing touchdowns and you had catch-up points potentially on Monday night. But I think having Jacobs as a backstop, I think having Gibbs as the potential number one player in fantasy, and then Malik Neighbors last week was a beast. I still think Spates has the best top-to-bottom roster. He could even make a move if something came up. I really like CJ, and I really like Jaden Daniels as well. We didn't talk about. One thing I did do that was interesting, though, for Case, I will say this.
I believe in you, Brian.
I looked at average points over the last couple weeks of the teams in the playoffs. I obviously know there's a massive outlier, but over the last 4 weeks of the 4 teams, Brian Casey's the best. On average, he's averaging 171 points over the
last. Put up 180 something against Lloyd the week before, and he boomed on me going over 200. So I've had 2 weeks in a row.
It would be so poetic that Brian Casey repeats after not going 25 years without a championship.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
So, Casey, if you go last 2 weeks, you're the best team. If you go last 3 weeks, you're the best team. If you go last 4 weeks, you're the best team. What Space has going for him is that his consistency over the year has been pretty flat. He is, I don't want to call it a lock. He's pretty close to a lock to get to 160 at the moment. So you've got to get to 165. You've done it the last 2 weeks. You've almost done it the last 3 weeks. So you got a chance. You got to stay hot.
My team's peaking, I guess you can say. But yeah, CJ has been as consistent as anybody all year. So I'm going to need something close to what I've done the last 2 weeks. And it's we can say it's going to be hard for me to repeat that performance the last 2 weeks again. We got no control over this thing.
The last 4 weeks, you guys would have gone 2-2 against each other. So just so you know, this one could be pretty close.
The one thing I could say, looking at both rosters, is we're getting round 2 of divisional play. And if you look back at some of the marquee players, Daniels versus Philly, some of those matchups, first time around, I have a Monra versus Chicago. None of them performed really well the first time around. So either huge adjustments and they go big second time around, or more of the same, which brings down scoring in total, which obviously still helps CJ with a deeper, more consistent roster. I'm going to need some boom ability going on to have a shot at this.
Interestingly enough, very formidable Saturday afternoon battle here that Spates is going to have a couple guys. The league has predicted Spates over Case 7-3.
Wow.
The 3 teams who are on Team Casey, any guesses?
Me.
He just did it live.
Pete?
We see the count.
Wait, no, Pete, you said me, Spates.
I'm picking Casey. I don't know.
All right, then it's 6-4. Then it's 6-4.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. That's closer.
So Casey, we'll get to it. 2 people picked you to win. I'll tell you who it is when we get to the finals. But the league is saying Spates. 2 of us are saying
me. Who else?
We'll get there.
Okay. Sorry.
We'll get there.
Just because it's playoff time, right? And it's only Wednesday. If anything happens between now and the end of the weekend, I literally have no moves on my bench to sub if somebody pops something in a practice, where CJ has a couple guys that he could sub in there and still probably not lose a lot to. So we're hoping that everything stays status quo from now through the end of the weekend.
I think the podcast is better without DeVito. Sorry, Steve.
Come on. Where is?
Are we filming? Are we filming?
What are we doing? You want to talk about this one?
You got 3. You got 3, Case. I had it right. I had you, Pete. You got 3, Case. You got 3 guys. 7-3, Spates over Case. We'll recap who's got you when we get to the end.
Those odds better. I like those odds better.
Game number 2. I do not have everybody's pick for game number 2. You can guess who chose not to pick this game.
He's named after a condiment.
Yeah, it's Mustard Boy. So I only have 9 picks for this game. We'll get there in a second. But the 2 versus the 3 seed, Steve Manguso Bowl. Steve Manguso texted me. So I have Steve Manguso's pick for this game.
Yes!
Let's get the preview.
I can't wait for this. Good God. Oh, my God. That makes my entire night. Michael, Jesus. All right.
Wait. Who is this?
Who is this?
Joey?
New phone. Who's this Manguso?
Who's
Joey?
this? You up?
Yo, shout out to Manguso. Organically, because I haven't put any paid support behind this, but organically, I hope this podcast takes off around Milfordians. I think it would be fantastic to just see this just blow up. We could have an Oliva's sponsor.
If we do this, though, we got to be careful. I feel like we've said some things that might get us in trouble around Milford.
Nah, Forget it. No, we're not any worse than Joe Mercado. What do you think is if we could have if we could have one Milford sponsor, who do you think it would be?
Olivas.
They sponsored the draft.
Olivas, right? Yeah, they did sponsor the draft. That was pretty badass.
Or Pago. Milford Mandarin.
Pago's gone.
Oh,
it's been gone for a while.
It's a liquor store now.
We could take Hoboken Club.
It's a very weird liquor store, no doubt. Number 2, Mike. Number 3, Lloyd. You ready for this one?
I'm ready, baby.
All right, Mike. Let's talk about you first. You're the number 2 seed. This is your 5th time being the number 2 seed. You've been the number 2 seed 4 out of the last 5 years. How do you feel about that?
No, I have not. Seriously.
You have.
Oh, man.
You've been the number 2 seed 4 out of the last 5 years.
Bridesmaid.
Quite a contrast to Lloyd, which we'll get to later, but it is Mike's 14th playoff appearance. You want to talk about the previous 13. How do you think you did in them?
I think I'm 2-11.
You're 3-10. It's pretty close. But Mikey, your boy this year, you are 11-4. You are 3rd in scoring with 143. You have two booms. Those are back-to-back weeks in week 11 and week 12. Dan, you ever heard of him? Dan Larkin took over for Ross Grimaldi. Sorry, Ross. What's up with Ross, by the way? I've been hitting him up, try to get him on the podcast. He's been reading my messages. I get read receipts. Yeah, Casey, I see your eyes. You're scared about this. But yeah, I get read receipts from Ross. Ross, answer a goddamn text message.
He's reading them and not replying?
He's reading them and not replying. I wrote to him about
talks all over again.
Yeah, who the fuck is Ross Grimaldi? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to swear. But who is Ross Grimaldi? Like, honestly, like, I'm over here like explicit. But I'm like, yo, I was talking about wrestling, and I was like, yo, Ross, read this, and he read it. He didn't even want to respond. Anyway.
So, Pete, hold on, just for clarification, I'm looking at the matchup right now, so I could try to come up with something intelligent to say. And when you said you've been texting Ross, like my eyes came over, like, seriously? You got my attention.
I text Ross Grimaldi all the time. All right, Ross, shout me out. Dan, number 3 seed, skip the 4. The guy's never been in the playoffs before, and first time being a 3 seed. But welcome to the big show. Can't even get into his playoff history. It's never happened. He is 0-0. Your boy this year, 9-6. 2nd in scoring with 149 points per game, right behind Spates. And honestly, on his tush, 3 booms, week 5, week 7, and week 14. So it's pretty spread out. Dan looks pretty good. I don't know. I look at him and I say, Mike Kaleli's built for the consolation bracket. So I think I'm gonna take Dan to win this one, and we're gonna go at Dan Lloyd Spates Super Bowl. Let's go.
Wait, you picked Case?
What Case?
Yeah, Case Lloyd's Super Bowl. Let's go. Red Room rivalry.
Red Room.
Yeah, Red Room rivalry. Sorry, you know what I'm talking about.
This is why my picks keep getting messed up on my screen. Case, we have said pretty consistently
earlier that I've had too much.
We have said pretty consistently that Sprite and whiskey went down fast. Look, we've said pretty consistently this season, and the points reflect it, that it has been Spates and Lloyd as the titans of the season. You come into week, 16, semifinals, and for the first time in a while, no real injuries for Dan to talk about other than one of his most consistent guys, Montgomery, going out. So having to deal with the battle of a running back down in Montgomery, he's plugged in Harris. Does he have what it takes to get the W? And give us your take on the game?
So I do think that losing Montgomery hurts him in terms of, like, Montgomery's a better fantasy reliance than Najee Harris. Mm-hmm. Where I think it helps Dan when you look at his bench now, especially if Ken Walker stays sidelined, is it takes a lot of the decision-making out of Dan's hands, which actually is a benefit to him, where he's not worried about trying to figure out a matchup. He's just going to play the healthiest guys. And it's just about the quarterback, which it looks like he's on a Darnold.
He's going Darnold
run right now. So I think it actually helps him from a matchup standpoint in terms of he's not worried about this guy or this guy. He's got his lineup set, which he tends to do a lot of moves later in the week.
Who would you start if you were me? I'm a little stuck on the bottom of my roster.
So actually, that's what I was looking at, Mike, before I got a roster from all the ears were burning. I actually like how you have it now. I do think that it's not an overreaction to get Connor and Cook in there this week. I actually think that they're more reliable than Chuba down the stretch here. Arizona stinks, but those are two bad teams that are about to square off. I don't think you're going to like that fantasy piece. And I think Buffalo is going to sell out this week against New England versus 2 weeks from now where they may rest some guys. So this is the more important of that New England matchup, and they can't stop anybody against the run. So I do like that. The one guy I think is a little iffy is Cortland Sutton, but you get him on Thursday. So, it's a cup of zero spot. Like it's in the past.
There's a piece of me, Case, you might think I'm crazy that he's my, at the moment, worry spot. There's something about it that I'm contemplating pulling him because one, I just don't love Thursday night divisional games. They feel like weird things happen in a road team with a rookie quarterback. I'm like, eh. Yeah, and then I kind of could make a call. Do I go conservative with Chuba? And I would kind of take my pulse off what Harris does on Saturday night. That it gives me some optionality where I could then plug in Chuba if I want a floor play, or I could go DJ Moore if I want an upside play. And then even if Sutton goes off, I still feel like I have options. If he does, then I'm still okay with it. It's kind of where I'm going.
You're pushing back that decision for a couple of days, which obviously in itself is a benefit. Just looking quick, last time Chicago played Detroit, DJ Moore had 16 targets in that game.
I just don't trust the Bears.
Well, I'm just saying, so one of those things before where it's like, do they then now take him away? But that Lions defense, there's nobody left.
None.
So that game could get high scoring like Buffalo and Detroit just did, back and forth. Might want a piece of that game.
All right. Well, Casey, before this game, you texted me and said you got Lloyd. Are you sticking with that pick, or are you flip-flopping like Pete?
No, I'm sticking with Lloyd. Some that I think is the consistency mark that he's done all year. I do think that it's just it's a 1 week game, right? And he's got CD, he's got Chase. Chase is on fire right now. Like he's the scariest team in it. And if anything, as Pete said, you do have to take in some past precedent. Lloyd has nothing.
None.
You are lined up to do what you do. So if I'm going to try to pick a winner and actually hold myself to it, I'm going to take the odds and take Lloyd.
I'm bucking the trend. I'm picking myself this week.
That makes me feel better, Pete.
There's a couple of things that I did down the stretch that I think. So the thing we didn't talk about. This is going to sound bad. I think I have Pete, don't yell at me. Don't tell me how crazy I am. Don't laugh and tell me how wrong I am. I think I have a massive, massive advantage at quarterback. And I am predicting right now, Kyler's getting 30. Kyler's getting 30.
You're nuts.
You're gambling on a Kyler week.
Like, if anything, you should have said, last time Saquon saw Washington, he went for freaking 140.
You're just like, I'm banking on a Kyler. If Kyler wins, I win a Super Bowl or not. That's bad, Mike. You don't want those odds.
This guy has been a chosen one forever. We had a long conversation in the offseason. He asked for a trade. He then went over to the Orange Crush, and he told me it's dysfunctional.
He hated losing.
The inmates are running the prison. I can't take it. I need a leader like you, Mike. He's back. He owes me this. And
he owes you. You gave him a playoff check, and now he's cashing in.
No. Yeah, it's hell over here. I'm letting Eddie asshole run the ship. I don't care. Yeah.
Two of DeLuca's starting quarterbacks this season are playing for other teams in the semifinals.
You want to talk about not being able to trade a quarterback? I traded 3 quarterbacks this year.
Mike, Saquon just came off a dud. The dude's an MVP candidate. Like, they're gonna feed him if they have the opportunity to. Like, that's your guy.
Did you see the Philadelphia Eagles
and Brown?
Chase Brown's been a star. I like the squad, guys. I think James Conner being in this lineup is a really good matchup against Carolina. The Patriots suck. There's just good pieces in my direction. The hugest concern I have is if somehow Higgins is out or limited, Chase is just going to eat. And if he eats, I can't keep up. But I like my team. I think I'm going to beat him.
Mike, you know what I'm feeling this week?
What?
A little Jalen McMillan action if you're feeling.
No, I'm not putting him in. Great keeper, but I'm not putting him in. Yes, Pete.
Baker.
No, I was denying that. That is a stupid take.
Baker.
You loved my Kyler take.
I thought it was terrible. Like, it just shows that you're panicking. In fact, you went back to the well. The dude was terrible. The dude was terrible against the Pats this past week. He didn't do
It's
anything.
coming from the guy who's playing Baker Mayfield.
No, it wasn't. Well, what would you like me to do? Play Anthony Richardson?
No, you have a quarterback issue like I do. You should have picked up Baker.
So, guys, we've got 6 teams chose Lloyd over me. 3 teams chose me. 1 person has still yet to choose the winner of this game and the Super Bowl winner. So 6-3, the league has chosen Lloyd. And so I will tell you, the finals, the league has chosen Dan Larkin will win his first title. 4 people in the league are on Team Larkin to win his first title. 2 of those people are sitting next to me. Case, Pete, let's start your predictions. You guys think Lloyd, you just have different people against him.
My head will explode.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome. I think we talked about this last week. We're bucking trends, Mike, and I guess you have the most solid track record of anybody of losing this weekend. So, CJ's first ever regular season title, right? Dan's first ever conference playoff championship, whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to do it. He's the most dangerous team in this playoff.
Pete?
I agree with Brian. I think that Lloyd is going to be the one that excels this week and sends him to his first ever Super Bowl in league history, which I mean, I know a lot of people that watch this stuff don't really care, but this blows my mind. I mean, this was a Ross Grimaldi team. This was Ross leaving the league and trying to find somebody that would take over the spot. Dan Larkin, historically, like the history of him with the league, offering to buy Lloyd's team for $1,000, and you know, the fact that I think he's going to take it to the house is awesome. I'm really excited about it. As just a fan of this league. Casey, shut up.
What about this storyline, Pete?
What's that?
Lloyd becomes the manager. In his first draft, he trades away Saquon Barkley and now is going up against him in a semifinal match. Did he know what he was doing way back then? Because we all thought he was nuts.
No, trust me. I mean, I'm hard as a rock a lot watching it. But as far as the other one, Casey versus CJ, I'm telling you right now, CJ's had a great year, but CJ is struggling. And Brian Casey hit that stride, and that happens every year. If you're a sports fan, you see the team that gets the momentum and takes it to the end. Brian Casey looks hot right now. I like him. I like Dan to take over Mike. I'm sorry, Mike, obviously, but
Okay.
And I think we got a red room rivalry for the Super Bowl.
I miscalculated the things. I had 2 people in there. I had Case in there twice. So it's actually 5-4. So 5 people have Lloyd beating me. Everybody except 1 team has Lloyd winning 2 playoff games. The one thing I will caution us against, we've judged his coaching all season. Semifinals and finals is about coaching. Everybody's saying Dan wins the title, except 1 person has Dan losing in the finals, and that's Innes. Innes is one of the 2 managers in our league who thinks Brian Casey is winning back-to-back titles.
I love that guy.
Who's the other one?
CJ Spates.
Wow.
So CJ Spates.
You just karming it, man.
He's trying to do the reverse comment.
I didn't finish who else picked Lloyd. Wait, 1, 2, 3 teams have Lloyd. I miscalculated this thing.
I have Lloyd.
Don't
Pete
worry
has Lloyd.
Don't worry about it.
Lloyd has Lloyd.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, if Lloyd gets there,
Mike. Overconfident.
Yeah, if Lloyd gets there, I think he wins it. Which, honestly, I mean, I don't think that the people that listen to this podcast or anybody in the league really look at the magnitude of what that is. I mean, this kid was the punching bag for the league for multiple years, and this is a big turnaround.
You're seriously took over a franchise in disarray, trades his best player that first year, and then puts together this thing in 2+ years. That's impressive.
And it would be poetic that he beats Mike after trading him Saquon and takes. I mean, Mike, how do you feel about it?
Fine. I don't know. I lose every time in the first round of the playoffs. I feel fine. It doesn't affect me at all anymore.
Yeah, Pete. He takes down somebody that's known for being in the playoffs year in and year out. Like that's taking down a league stalwart.
3-10 in 13 years of playoff appearances.
So you three have Lloyd. There's 3 people who pick Spates. I never finished my pick. I have Spates over me in the finals. I think Spates has been the best team wire to wire. I'm joined by 2 other teams picking CJ to win. Any predictions?
DeVita and DeVito.
DeVita and Breen are the 2 other teams.
DeVito picked you.
That leaves one team. Well, one guy didn't pick. Only one team riding Team Kaleli.
DeVito.
What a guy.
No wonder why you don't want to kick him off the pod.
Kiss of death.
Bring him.
Steve's going to be on the podcast tonight. Steve, you
Where is Steve? Where is Steve when you need him, man? I tell you, I miss that guy.
Is there any weather we should be worried about this weekend?
It's really raining upstairs.
It's pouring out. When I went outside to get my Christmas card to check my mail, I'm like, pouring.
Steve, tell me about the weather.
You missed me at Cooper Cup this past weekend, bro.
Ooh, there's a little
Gonna
snow
rain last Thursday.
All right, so if
Pouring right now.
CJ wins it, it would be the first time in like 10 years. So this is the thing I want to get across. This will probably be our last podcast.
Whoa. Sorry, Pete, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt. You go.
This will probably be the last podcast of the year. Next Wednesday is Christmas Day. Next Wednesday after that is New Year's Day. So we might have a rough time finding our next podcast. So do you want to start looking?
I can find it.
I'll be available.
I'm in.
All right, December 26th. You want to talk on that date?
I'll do it from the case.
All right, sounds good. Never mind then.
Wait, what are you going to say?
We're
Something?
hosting Christmas Day. I'm available. I can do Christmas Day.
I was just going to say, do you want to make final Super Bowl predictions right now, or do you want to wait if we're going to have another podcast?
No, we'll wait. We'll do it next week. Hey, are there Wednesday games next week?
Yes.
No, but there are. There's a Saturday game this weekend for the.
I'm so confused. There's Christmas games though. What week do they count for? The next week?
Yes, there's 2 games next Wednesday. I don't know if there's a Thursday game, Mike. I think it's Wednesday instead, and Netflix has it. I think.
One of them is the Ravens, which is going to be
a long Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's meaningful teams too. It's not like I think the Chiefs might be one of the teams too.
There are Thursday night teams too, guys, because I got a guy on Thursday night. Well, there's Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday next week.
It's too much.
Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. The NFL is awful.
Yeah. Hey guys, just to preview it. Kyler Murray, primetime Saturday night game of on the finals week. Just saying.
Nice. I like it.
Sounds like a good consolation.
I'm at the end of the day, I'm always hoping for a podcast Super Bowl / championship. So I just don't think it's going to happen. My luck's not that good.
Hey, Pete, I tried to help you out. All our hopes were on Mike before this past weekend. So I got us at 50% at least.
Honestly, I wish we had some analytics to back it because that was an epic jump to make the playoffs. But so just acknowledging that.
We didn't even talk about Case on last week's podcast. So welcome back, Case.
Yeah.
I asked my question.
If we get to 60 viewers, we'll get an intern.
Yeah, I was like, how do you feel since you've been eliminated? How do you feel about this? In case he's like, man, I feel all right. I'm like, and then he's in the playoffs.
Hey, Christian, I know you listen to this. For the record, I feel really good about winning this past week. Thanks.
Poor mustard boy.
For Christian, for Brian, for Pete, for everybody out there, it's been a blast. Good luck this week. Good luck, Lloyd. I'm taking you down like I used to take you down playing the Celtics drill. Let's go.
Who'd Goose pick?